Wise for Africa Director Advocate Brenda Madumise-Pajibo joins us now as we look at complaints that children are often failed by the criminal justice system due to the various factors, as you've heard, like service delivery challenges, staff shortages, and even budget constraints. Advocate, thank you so much for your time. Good afternoon to you. So what are some of these direct effects on children due to the failure in delays of our justice system?
Good afternoon. I think one of the critical failures will be no justice, and justice denied is, justice delayed is justice denied. So we can't even talk about a justice system when victims and those who seek redress from the justice system don't receive that justice. So that's the first critical, consequence of the failures and the entire systematic failures of the justice system in its entirety. I think the second thing that I would request the minister to do is that the public protector concluded a report on the failures of the justice system around the infrastructure, but also around personnel. And those two go hand in hand, right? That you have courts that are not even functioning, but they are courts. They were built to function as courts, but they don't have the necessary facilities, from ablution facilities to interpreters to recording facilities, and just basic court that has got sitting arrangement that can actually hear a matter. Coupled with that is the fact that we don't have the numbers that we are looking for to tackle what this government calls a crisis in cases of gender violence, and especially when it comes to children. Yes. Remember, we've got the FCS, which is the Family Violence and Children Protection and Sexual Offences Investigation Unit is found in all the provinces. But if we're to do a deep dive into establishing the number of individuals who are supposed to be responsible for FCS in the provinces, we'll all be dismayed, right? And we can't continuously be told about a budget when you have known that the population of this country is growing. You have a crisis in your hands, but you have not given the necessary resources, especially financial resources, to beef up the FCS, to give them proper training. Because if you are still giving rudimentary training to police officers and not give them specialized training, especially in the light of the atmosphere and environment that you are operating in, of social media and everything, and you are still giving training that is not geared towards what you are confronted with, we are not going to get justice for many of these victims.
Absolutely, Advocate. I mean, so what needs to be done then to address these injustices? I mean, the court buildings are under public service management, but it's not just children's courts, Advocate, suffering this fate. In 2014, the Department of Justice had outlined a lengthy PMG presentation of the infrastructural projects sitting idly as well as incomplete or not even started with. What is causing all these delays, especially on repairs as well as payments for service providers and even court staff?
Listen, I think as citizens of this country, we have been front line and in the front, front to see the failures of this government. Even when they say they mean well, they will come out publicly to tell us about the major infrastructure project that they're going to undertake. But surely, if you believe that you are dealing with a crisis and a secondary pandemic in gendered violence, your response should match that. It should be a response that is urgent, a response that cannot accept the delays. And I think the frustration for all of us is this government says the right things all the time, right? But when it comes to them having to act, they fail dismally, and then we have to resort to the courts to force them to do what they were supposed to do in the first place. So I think for me is that you have a tone-deaf public service that really does not understand the urgency, does not appreciate the lack of their professionalism. They are disdain for the citizens and not doing their work, right? And I think we have not been angry enough as citizens of the country to demand that those who do not execute their responsibilities, then they can't continue to serve in the public service. They must leave, right? Because you can't sit with a memo as a DG or a chief director or deputy director on something that must be done, and you don't drive that process to ensure that you meet the deadline that you had set for yourself, and you do what you're supposed to do within the budget that was allocated to yourself. And that's been the failure of this government, littered with individuals that don't have the drive, that don't have the passion, that don't have that are eager to do what is right and do it in the most excellent and professional manner.
According to the Batupile's principles as enshrined in the Constitution there, I suppose it's quite a frustrating conversation there, Advocate. So, I mean, in your engagements with the department, how are they dealing with these challenges? As we often hear that cases often drag on to a point where even the concerned parents or guardians have no choice but to abandon the pursuit of justice, even on serious matters like maintenance and custodial issues, just among others.
So let's ask ourselves as a country where we have so many bodies that have got oversight over the work of government, and unfortunately we fail to execute. So why do we have this many oversight bodies that are supposed to hold government in the three spheres, from the legislature to the executive to the judiciary? Why is it that we are failing to do all the things that we need to do? So if we have these oversight bodies that must assist us as ordinary citizens to get the services that we want, and they keep on failing, then it means that we need to change that system and in fact even change the people who are in those positions, because maybe they don't understand what their role is and why they were appointed in the first place to execute their constitutional mandate. So even if you engage, and I mean, I'm referring you to a report done by the public protector, who's supposed to protect us, the public. They did that work. They gave it to the Justice Department to show them the systematic failures, right, in administering justice in this country, that your courts are not functioning. They don't have the necessary infrastructure. They don't have ablution facilities. They don't have recordings. That report was handed out last year. Has the minister come out to tell us as the country that in the next 6 months, this is what we're going to be doing, right? And this is the allocated budget. We get excited over a minister going to do an inspection in local, but we're not asking the right questions of, you've said with this report, please demonstrate to us line by line what you have done or you're about to do, so that we as the public can then monitor whether you are executing that. And I think it requires from us to be tenacious, to be vigilant, to continuously demand that accountability from the elected officials.
Advocate, thank you so much for your input this afternoon. Advocate Brenda Madumise there from Wise for Africa. She's the Director on Children's Courts Failing the Young.